Hey guys, yeah, just had a great call with a good friend of mine, just a kind of catch-up call, and he shedded some light upon a few situations which, I happen to be going through and experiencing in my own life currently. Gave me some valuable information. I quoted him on my page what he'd said. As an example, he said, learn to identify the symptoms of when your mind is about to come to a meltdown as you pursue the chase of your objectives in life, as many do not and end up burning themselves out. A good practice of habit is to step back and to appreciate the things for which you have around you, in contrast to some of the most devastating places in the world for which the news doesn't even present. Realize how fortunate you are and imagine what your current position could have been potentially if you'd been somewhere else a lot worse. Yeah, that was powerful. That resonated with me a lot because it resonated with me a lot because sometimes I just feel so frustrated when I'm trying to attain something, or when it can be a bit hard to comprehend something. I'm just sitting down trying to work out. But it's about persistence within gradual progression and understanding that you're not going to be able to reach your goals in a singular moment. As a great person once said, Rome wasn't built within a day. You have to take progressive steps, and you have to really engineer something within a realistic time frame and break it down, simplify it, and make your way towards it progressively with patience. Anyhow, we have reached halfway below page 3, and so I'm going to restart from this subtitle, Where Do I Belong? A small number of people know very early where they belong. Mathematicians, musicians and cooks, for instance, are usually mathematicians, musicians and cooks by the time they are 4 or 5 years old. Physicians usually decide on their careers in their teens, if not earlier, but most people, especially highly gifted people, do not really know where they belong until they are well past their mid-20s. By that time, however, they should know the answers to the 3 questions. What are my strengths? How do I perform? And what are my values? And then they can and should decide where they belong. Yeah? Okay.
But if come straight to my place because I'm very tired and I want to go to sleep, okay?
Okay. Or rather, they should be able to decide where they do not belong. The person who has learned that he or she does not perform well in a big organization should have learned to say no to a position in one. The person who has learned that he or she is not a decision maker should have learned to say no to a decision maker assignment. A General Patton, who probably has never learned this himself, should have learned to say no to an independent command. Equally important, knowing the answer to these questions enables a person to say to an opportunity, an offer, or an assignment, yes, I'll do that, but this is the way I should be doing it. This is the way I should be structuring it. This is the way the relationship should be. These are the kinds of results you can expect from me, and in this time frame, because this is who I am. Successful careers are not planned. They are developed when a person is prepared for opportunities because they know their strengths, their method of work, and their values. Knowing where one belongs can transform an ordinary person's hardworking and competent but otherwise mediocre into an outstanding performer. What should I contribute? Throughout history, the greatest majority of people never had to ask a question, what should I contribute? They were told what to contribute, and their tasks were dictated either by the work itself, as it was for the peasant or artisan, or by a master or mistress, as it was for a domestic servant. And until very late, it was taken for granted that most people were subordinates who did as they were told. Even in the mid-1950s and 1960s, The new knowledge workers, the so-called organization men, looked to their company's personnel department to plan their careers. Then, in the late 1960s, no one wanted to be told what to do any longer. Young men and women began to ask, what do I want to do? And what they heard was that the way to contribute was to do your own thing. But this solution was as wrong as the organization meant had been. Very few of the people who believed that doing one's own thing would lead to contribution, self-fulfillment, and success achieved any of the three. But still, there is no return to the old answer of doing what you are told or assigned to do. Knowledge workers in particular have to learn to ask a question that has not been asked before. What should my contribution be? To answer it, they must address three distinct elements. What does the situation require, given my strengths, my way of performing, and my values? How can I make the greatest contribution to what needs to be done? And finally, what results have to be achieved to make a difference? Consider the experience of a newly appointed hospital administrator. The hospital was big and prestigious, but it had been coasting on its reputation for 30 years. The new administrator decided that his contribution should be to establish a standard of excellence in one important area within 2 years. He chose to focus on the emergency room, which was big, visible, and sloppy. He decided that every patient who came into the ER had to be seen by a qualified nurse within 60 seconds. Within 12 months, the hospital's emergency room had become a model for all hospitals in the United States. And within another 2 years, the whole hospital had been transformed. As this example suggests, it is rarely possible or even particularly fruitful to look too far ahead. A plan can usually cover no more than 18 months and still be reasonably clear and specific. So the question in most cases should be, where and how can I achieve the results that will make a difference within the next year and a half? The answer must balance several things. First, the results should be hard to achieve. They should require stretching, to use the current buzzword, but also they should be within reach. To aim at results that cannot be achieved or that can only be under the most unlikely circumstances is not being ambitious, it is being foolish. Second, the results should be meaningful. They should make a difference. Finally, results should be visible and, if at all possible, measurable. From this will come a course of action, what to do, where and how to start, and what goals and deadlines to set. And then we'll comment to the next subtitle, which is entitled Responsibility for Relationships. Very few people work by themselves and achieve results by themselves. A few great artists, a few great scientists, a few great athletes. Most people work with others and are effective to work with other people. That is true, whether they are members of an organization or independently employed. Managing yourself requires taking responsibility for relationships. This has two parts. The first is to accept the fact that other people are as much individuals as you yourself are. They perversely insist on behaving like human beings. This means that they too have their strengths. They too have their ways of getting things done. They too have values. To be effective, therefore, you have to know the strengths, the performance modes, and the values of your co-workers. That sounds obvious, but most people pay attention to it. But few people pay attention to it. Typical is the person who was trained to write reports in his or her first assignment because that boss was a reader. Even if the next boss was a listener, the person goes on writing reports that invariably produce no results. Invariably, the boss will think the employee is stupid, incompetent, and lazy, and he or she will fail. But that could have been avoided if the employee had only looked at the new boss and analysed how this boss performs. Boss isn't even a title on the organisation chart nor a function. They are individuals and are entitled to do their work in the way they do it best. It is incumbent. I have no idea what that word means. Give me a second. Let me try and search up. Get a bit inside. Necessary for someone as a duty or responsibility. Sorry. They are individuals and they are entitled to do their work in the way they do it best. It is incumbent, so it's their responsibility and duty on the people. Well, it is incumbent on the people who work with them to observe them. So it's our responsibility and duty as employees to identify and work with our bosses, to observe our bosses, to find out how they work and to adapt themselves to what makes their bosses the most effective. This is in fact the secret of managing the boss. It says that in quotations. So the same holds true for all of your co-workers. Each works his or her way, not your way, and each is entitled to work in his or her way. What matters is whether they perform and what their values are. As for how they perform, each is likely to do it differently. The first secret of effectiveness is to understand the people you work with and depend on so that you can make use of their strengths, their ways of working, and their values. Working relationships are much based on people as they are in work. The second part of relationships responsibility is taking responsibility for communication. Whenever I or any other consultant, wait, we're going too far. Actually, I think I might just go down halfway this page. Okay, so whenever I or any other consultants start to work within an organisation, the first thing I hear about are all the personality conflicts. Most of these arise from the fact that people do not know how to work with other people and are doing how they're doing their work, or what contribution that other people are concentrating on, and what results they expect. And the reason they do not know is that they have not asked and therefore they have not been told. Which concludes our 10.5 pages for today. So going back through, just skimming through and just recapping of what we've just learned. So, says, but most people, especially highly gifted people, do not really know where they belong until they are well past their mid-20s. By that time, however, they should know the answer to these 3 questions, which I'm going to underline here. What are my strengths? How do I perform? And what are my values? And then they can and should decide where they belong. Actually, I'm just going to underline that whole thing. I'm just going to underline all of them. I think all of that's relevant. And even just have some sort of idea, a rough statistic on how things are usually. It's good if you want to mentor or just give general knowledge. So, they should be able to decide where they go. A person who has learned that he or she does not perform positional. Brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. What I've underlined here is the person who has learned that he or she does not perform well in a big organisation should have learned to say no to a position in one. He or she is not decision making. I'll just outline the second example as well. The person who has learned that he or she is not a decision maker should have learned to say no to the decision making assignment. Equally important, knowing the answers to these questions enables a person to say to an opportunity, an offer, or an assignment, yes, I'll do that, but this is the way I will be doing it. I'm going to underline all of that as well. There's a lot of value within the first few pages here. Yeah, so, equally important, knowing the answer to these questions enables a person to say to an opportunity, an offer, or an assignment, yes, I will do that by this. But this is the way I should be doing it. This is the way it should be constructed. This is the way the relationship should be. These are the kind of results you should expect from me. And this is the time frame because this is who I am. Brilliant. Successful careers are not planned. They develop when people are prepared for opportunities because they know their strengths, their method of work, and their values. Oh my god, even more. Knowing where one belongs. Transform. Yeah, knowing where one belongs can transform an ordinary person, hardworking and competent but otherwise mediocre, into an outstanding performer. See if there's anything else. I'll give you an example here. Knowledge workers in particular have to learn to ask a question that has not been asked before. What should my contribution be? To answer it, they must address three distinct elements. What does the situation require? Given my strengths, my way of performing, and my values, how can I make the greatest contribution to what needs to be done? And finally, what results have to be achieved to make the difference? I'm just going to underline all of them. I'm just going to underline the question, what should my contribution be to answer it? Consider the experience of a newly appointed hospital administrator. Here's another example. Yeah, that's pretty good. Where and how can I achieve results that will make a difference within the next year and a half? The answer should balance several things. First, the results should be hard to achieve. They should require stretching, to use a current buzzword, but also they should be within reach, to aim at results that cannot be achieved or that can only be achieved under the most unlikely circumstances. Is not being ambitious, it's being foolish. Second, the results should be meaningful. They should make a difference. Finally, results should be visible and, if at all possible, measurable. From this will come a course of action. What to do, where and how to start, and what before the deadlines are set. Responsibility for relationships. To be effective, therefore, you have to know the strengths, performance values, and performance values and the values of your co-workers. So, it is incumbent on the people who work with them to observe them, to find out how they work and to adapt themselves to what makes their boss most. So, even before that, also the entire organisation and what you function. There are individuals who are entitled to do their work. Yeah, I'm going to say online all of them. Effective. This is in fact the secret of a managing boss. Same old true for your coworkers. Each Same holds true for all of your co-workers. Each works in his or her own way, not yours. The third secret of effectiveness is to understand the people you work with and depend on, so you can make use of their strengths and their ways of working and their values. That is brilliant. Worker relationships are based on people. Consultancy and secretary for communication. Okay. And that concludes it. That's what I want to make notes of. So these 10 pages have been very valuable, extremely valuable. I've almost underlined the whole bloody thing. It's been brilliant. And once again, you'll be able to find all of these notes I've taken down, along with this video, on my YouTube, on my Facebook. I highly recommend you like my page on my Facebook and follow along. It's always great, once again, to wake up, to scroll down, and you actually see something of value for once, because there's a lot of crap out there. And as a great man once says, you are what you feed your mind. And as Ty Lopez says, what you take in, you put back out. So, if you're the type of person who wants to become prosperous, who wants to better themselves, monitor the things that you're intaking. And that's a great thing about the internet. You can be selective with the media that you're intaking. You can be selective with the things you're watching, that you're reading. Take control, optimize your life so that it works for you and not against you. Thank you very much for coming in, and stay tuned. Once again, click the link below, check it out. Goodbye.